Hello, today's subject is going to be flat roofs. You can see that I'm standing on a flat roof here. Parts of this flat roof are green roof and another part I can walk on, and another part has gravel on it as UV ray protection. Here's another flat roof, and you can see that you can find all types of objects on this roof surface. Well, we have once again the upturn, about 15 centimeters. Here the metal cover is a little higher, so the upturn has to be protected, UV protected by a particular paint. Doesn't work very well. Here you can see that this is subject to holes in the roofing felt. And well, what else can we see? We see gravel that I'm working on that is protecting the roofing felt, and there are ventilations of maybe toilets and such. There is anti-lightning protection. There's a gutter here. There's a Dipl. And some vegetation already. So that could be a problem on the long run if the construction underneath is not fit to cope with plants. Here, in continuation of this load-bearing wall, you can see that the building seems to have been conceived as two parts. So there is an expansion joint in between, and this expansion joint has to rise up to the roof surface, and then it is covered by a piece of sheet metal to protect it. Here you see that for a flat roof you need vodka and an excess, and now we're going to the roof terrace above me. Here I'm on the roof terrace of TUM, and you can see that this roof terrace has been redone recently, and during this refurbishment there is an insulation package of about 20 centimeters that has been added to the flat roof below me, and so the guardrail had to be raised before this was high enough. And you can see that I'm walking on a surface that is partially hollow, and there are rails to have access to the gutter. And maybe here in the corner there is an intake which can be accessed by this removable plate. Once again, there's all kind of objects. There's a chimney. And to give access to the chimney, there's a sort of metal structure which stands on the walkable surface. There's a ladder that's protected against students. And here on the other side, we have the solar station, which is a steel structure put on solid foundations. And here the upturn is higher than the 15 centimeters. This must be around 20-25. I'm standing on a flat roof basement, and you can see that the roofing has been redone lately. The upturn is almost high enough on this side and not high enough on the other side. Before, the roofing material was melted asphalt, and now they have been using a roofing felt to redo this accessible surface. Once again, I'm standing on a flat roof. You can see that parts of it are a sort of garden, and as this is an intensive green roof, you need 30 centimeters of earth to plant these lower bushes in it. There's even a tree which has a higher level of the ground, and it has a resin-bound gravel surface because it's supposed to be some sort of lounge character on this flat roof. This doesn't seem to be a flat roof because there's no upturn against the insulated wall. But it shows a third possibility, which is a flat roof accessible with cars. That's even more complicated than the other ones. So our roof construction has different parts. One of the parts you have been seeing already, that's the exterior surface. So for example, this exterior surface could be gravel. That's what I see. And below the gravel, if I'm dealing with a heated building, there should be some type of thermal insulation, which is normally air-based. There should be a waterproofing layer consisting of one material or the other. And there are different other layers that I will explain to you later, but these are the most important. So if I imagine this to be the waterproofing felt and this to be the insulation, if I put the insulation on top of the waterproofing and then I have an impact of, for example, a screw or a vodka bottle or whatsoever, that's not very dangerous for the waterproofing. But if it is above the insulation, you can see that it's very vulnerable. Although this is the most common type of waterproofing for flat roofs, but I do not recommend this. So let's look at different basic systems. One system would be the conventional system where I have a waterproofing layer, and below that I might have an insulation, and below that I might have a vapor barrier, and this could be in a slope so that water will pour in direction of the gutter, and then this should be protected by, for example, a gravel protection, and the waterproofing felt could be protected once again by a fleece or such, as not to put the gravel directly on the waterproofing layer. So this is what we would call a warm roof, because the lower side of the waterproofing is warm. A variation of this would be the inverse roof, where we put the waterproofing underneath the thermal insulation. So in this case, the thermal insulation would have to be waterproof, and I would need an additional drainage, and I might want to protect it with another fleece, and then I could have my gravel or whatever comes on top of it. And in this case, I cannot integrate the slope in the insulation because the water is down here. So here I have to add a screed as to guarantee the slope that is conducting the water to the gutter. Yet another variation would be a compact roof. Compact roof means I would have a provisional protection of the roof during the construction site. Then on top of this, together with liquid bitumen, I could have foam glass plates, which could be cut in a slope. And then I would pour this bituminous liquid in the joints and all over the surface, so that these insulation elements, they must be out of foam glass, because only foam glass is heat resistant enough. And then there could be another waterproofing layer on top of it. So all of this will be one compact mass, and if I put a hole in it, it won't have any consequences, because the foam glass is completely airtight. It has enclosed air bubbles inside, and the roofing felts are not, they might be punctured, but the whole system is still waterproof. So the last variation could be the cold roof. Like, for example, I have a wooden roof and insulation would be below here. I could have the waterproofing here on top of it. Slope has to be guaranteed by other means, and then I can protect this with the gravel once again. And there will be air circulation underneath. So the waterproofing is cold from underneath because there's this ventilation that brings winter temperatures to the roofing felt. So particular situation is the roof of a parking garage. So that's also a cold roof because it doesn't need to be insulated. So I could have a concrete slab. There might be some sort of screed on top of that to guarantee the slope. And then I could have 2 centimeter melted asphalt on top of that, which is surface and waterproofing at the same time. So I'm able to use a car on this surface, but I have to pay attention at the edge where the upturn is. So I have to integrate a piece of bituminous tar paper or so to guarantee the 15 centimeters upturn against rising walls that are in contact with this flat roof of a parking garage. As I said, there are different roofing materials. The classic roofing materials would be different layer, or mostly 3 layers of roofing felt glued together with hot tar. There's also bituminous polymer bound felt, which can be put in 1 or 2 layers. And these layers are glued one against the other with a torch. So the surface is heated up so that it becomes gluey, and then you can glue different layers together. So as for the usable surface of the flat roof, the standard solution would be to have 5 centimeter gravel as a protection of the liner below it, maybe with fleece in between. So now I want to be able to walk on this surface. What can I do? I can use plate material, and as to guarantee a flat surface, I need some sort of support here. So this support can be little mortar bags, for example, or it could be more sophisticated sort of little cross with a screw underneath, a little foot. And then I could put my plates here on this support, and as to have all the plates at level, I can screw this up and down. So this would be a walkable surface. This is also walkable, but only from time to time as to investigate whether the roof leaks or not. Third possibility would be the green roof. So for a green roof, we have lower plans where I have about 8 centimeters. Some sort of substrate and vegetation will be rather low on top of this. And the vegetation needs to stay humid. So I need a sort of special layer here that retains a little water, and it will let through the biggest part of the water. So if it rains, this rain will be filtered by the layer of substrate. Then I need a fleece as to avoid the earth to get into this water regulating layer. And Then I might have the insulation, and then I could have the waterproofing here. This here is normally a plastic film with little pots inside, and water would be inside these pots, and the biggest part of the water would be able to flow through to the gutter. You have the flat roof system, which could be conventional or inverse, or cold or compact, or maybe insulated or non-insulated. And on top of this, I had different types of surface, for example gravel or green or walkable. And the last one would be that you can drive on. If I want to drive on this, I have to guarantee that the punctual load out of the tires is distributed on a wider surface. So normally this is done with concrete slab, especially if the surface below has to be heated. We have seen the melted asphalt solution already, so the alternative would be to have the waterproofing below here, then maybe some kind of insulation, a vapor barrier, or protection of the floor slab during the construction site. So here's another floor slab. This means that I would have a 20 centimeter floor slab. I would have maybe 14 to 16 centimeters thermal insulation, and I might have another 14 to 16 centimeter drive-on concrete slab on top of this. So now you know why I have been trying to work with melted asphalt before, because it's much simpler. And if I don't need the insulation, I could as well use melted asphalt, although that's not a construction which is often applied in certain countries.